Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Autism Confidential, the podcast from the National Council on Severe Autism. I am your host, Jill Escher, president of NCSA. And as I think I remarked in the most recent episode, we've had a whole lot of requests coming in from listeners for all kinds of topics. And today's episode definitely comes in courtesy of one of your requests. And it was a rather lengthy request. And I want to read to you an excerpt of what this mother sent in. And then I'm going to introduce our two illustrious guests who are absolutely first and foremost in this field, absolute heroes in this particular endeavor. So here I go. This is a mom who is from the Pacific Northwest. Our son, who is 30, is quite severely impacted with autism, meeting DSM-5 criteria for severe level 3 autism. He is also diagnosed with intellectual disability, severe language impairment, ADHD, OCD, phobias, insomnia, dyspraxia. He's at risk for elopement. He has a high rate of repetitive behaviors. When he was younger, he engaged in motor and vocal stereotypy 90% of his waking hours. But over the years, he has learned to ski, windsurf, paddleboard, mountain bike, kayak, rollerblade, ice skate, skateboard, swim, hike, and run. He has run marathons. He ran a 10K race every month in non-pandemic times. He has averaged an 8-minute mile. He is learning to climb boulders, and he took Taekwondo for many years, but lost interest in that. He does not do well with team sports because he doesn't understand the rules and he is not competitive at all. He has not taken an interest in baseball, football, or basketball other than to shoot some hoops. All of these sports have been taught to our son using principles of applied behavior analysis and a lot of repetition. Behavioral strategies have been what our son responds to the most. So she goes on, she says, if we break things down into small steps and systematically taught, he can learn. He does need a partner. He can't engage in any of these sports alone, and this includes a running partner. Sports and aerobic exercise, and lots of it, are the most important daily activities he engages in for his health and well-being. If everything else was stripped away and he still had sports and aerobic exercise, he would be a happy guy. Sports and exercise are better than any drug we can give him and have made all the difference in his life. Okay, so I think you get a sense of this mother and her son and why she's so interested in this topic. She wanted us to address sports and exercise and outdoor activities in the podcast, which is something we haven't done before. So it is my pleasure to have two people who know more about this topic than almost anyone else in the country. First, we have Sallie Bernard from Ascendigo, which is based in Colorado. Hi, Sallie.
Hi, Jill.
So good to see Sallie Bernard. Sallie's also been involved in many things autism related over the years. And Katherine Hayes Rodriguez from Achieve Tahoe, one of the best known teachers of children and adults with disabilities in the entire world. Hello, Katherine.
Hi.
Okay. Well, your audio is not great, by the way, Katherine. So maybe move a little closer to your mic so people can hear you. Okay.
Hi, can you hear me now?
It's a little better. Thank you, Katherine.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. So we are going to, we talk about a lot of hard and difficult things on this podcast, whether it's research or whether it's policy, et cetera. But today's nicer because we're talking about something that is for most people really enjoyable and really beneficial in their lives. And what I'd like to do is start off letting people know about your programs, because I think a lot of people just won't have heard of Ascendigo or have heard of Achieve Tahoe. Talk about your programs and kind of the types of things you offer, and maybe a little bit about the background about how your programs came along. We'll start with Sallie.
Okay. So yeah, we're based here in Colorado, in the Rocky Mountains near Aspen. We started in 2004. We started as extreme sports camp, and we were adventure-based summer camp that started out with 4 kids for 4 days, and it worked. And so then the following year we did more kids and more weeks, and now we do an 8-week summer program for summer camps, and we've branched out. We now do year-round sports, skiing in the winter, and Saturday programs for local kids. We now do traditional behavior therapy for our local community. You know, we work in the schools, and we have a curriculum. We teach citizens like law enforcement and mountain rescue and other entities about autism, and, you know, what they can do to support people with autism. And we have an adult program, Life Enrichment, now, and that is a day program. And we still embed the sports philosophy because our program is morning, it's vocational, doing jobs, and then in the afternoon, at least part of the afternoon, our participants are going out and doing sports. So the genesis of the program, our original summer camps, is my other son's neurotypical, had many choices for summer programs. They got to go to Maine.
To be clear, you have a son with autism, severe form of autism, right?
My son with autism, who's now 35, he's you know, high support needs, 24/7, you know, care required. And so he had really no options. The options for summer programs, so this is going back to late 90s, early 2000s, were either for the non-severe end of the spectrum. You know, you couldn't have behaviors, you had to be toilet trained, you know, all those criteria that are put in place and still are today, unfortunately. But so he couldn't go to those. Inclusion really wasn't a word back then. So the you know, the camps for neurotypical kids were, you know, Bill was not welcome. And then there were some programs, and they really weren't very challenging. They seemed like the kids, you know, and a lot, I don't know, I just didn't like what I saw in the landscape back then. So we started our own program, and built around you know, the kinds of sports that you would expect being out in Colorado. So that's really the beginning, was to provide the same activities and you know, just, you know, this lifestyle for someone with severe autism as everyone else has access to.
Yeah, that's just incredible. And another thing I want to say is, you know, Sallie, you're still on the Autism Speaks board?
No,
Yeah.
I left, but my husband is on the board.
Okay, so you know, they've been involved. Like Sallie just mentioned, like 500 things that they're doing in Colorado, right? And on top of that, you know, she has done national work as well. I'm curious. You know, obviously Colorado is known for its skiing. Did your son start skiing at a young age? Did you get him involved early?
Yes, so I think our guy, you know, he was probably 8 years old, thereabouts, when we started to come out to ski. And we tried a few different places, and the ski pros in some places just had a hard time supporting Bill. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we came to Aspen to ski and got connected with a ski pro who really seemed to get Bill, and they clicked. And so we just started to come back, you know, to Aspen every time we wanted to ski. And then, so this was back in 2002. We said, why don't we just move to Aspen?
Oh, wow.
So,
What
you know,
sports to do? Oh my goodness.
yeah.
That's
So
funny.
big change from being in New Jersey.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, Sally. We'll get back to you, but let's turn it over to Katherine to tell us about the incredible Achieve Tahoe. And I want to say this hat is actually my daughter's ski hat I'm wearing in honor of my ski friends today. All right, Katherine, go ahead.
Thanks, Jill. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. We just celebrated our 55th anniversary of the original founding chapter of disabled sports. In the old days, it was called the National Amputee Skiers Association. And it was formed by kind of a rat pack group of guys who had come back from Vietnam, and they were all amputees on Donner Summit. And they formed the first chapter, of which now there's, I believe, over 120 chapters in the United States alone. And our program was specifically skiing, only winter sports until 1988, when we got a grant from the federal government to start a summer program. And what is interesting about the evolution of our program from a small group of volunteers to a very large program with over 220 volunteers and about 30 staff is that it's very cyclical in nature, the diagnosis that we deal with. It used to be primarily physical diagnosis. And in recent years, say the last 10 to 15 years, the cognitive / intellectual disability, autism spectrum, that has become prevalent not only in our program, but all the programs across the country. It makes up about 70 to 80% of our participants now. So it's really been.
And by the way, it's no longer called, well, obviously started with this, but the name has changed, right, for your program over the years, many times.
8 times.
8 times. Okay.
8 name changes. But the thing that we always advocated was that, and it's been proven statistically with data through the Forest Service and all the recreation entities, that outdoor sports facilitate independence and confidence, not just going out and having fun, but there's a whole myriad of wonderful things that happen when any of our skiers, our paddleboarders, our kayakers, our hikers, climbers, whenever they participate in some activity, the benefits are, it's like an onion. It's hard to even classify one layer. It affects the family. I mean, look at you, Jill.
Mm-hmm.
Look what a great skier you've become.
I would never in a million years have even tried skiing if it wasn't for Achieve Tahoe and somebody saying, hey, you should take Sophie to Achieve Tahoe. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I agree, because not only did Sophie learn how to ride the chairlift and hopefully make some turns here and there, but she brought her family along with her, and your enjoyment in life is just increased because of your outdoor activities. So that's what we've always subscribed to, is the depths of fun. What can actually happen when you have fun?
Yeah, this was nice collateral damage here that mom got involved. But I will note, dad still has not skied.
He might, so you never know.
One of these days, maybe. Sophie is definitely a huge success story, and I can talk about that. But I know so many families who just live for this, right? Live for Achieve Tahoe and similar programs. For example, in the summer, you have a lake program where it's, kayaking and stand-up paddling. And what do you call that thing on the lake, the motorcycle on the lake, whatever you call that?
Oh, a jet ski.
Jet skiing. Sorry, I don't remember these things. There's so many, and I know like you, Sallie, you do a lot of climbing. And so many people just are shocked. Like I've been shocked to see what Sophie could achieve, right, on the mountain. I hear from family after family, just they had such low expectations for their kids, and then they find out maybe it takes a couple times or maybe a couple years that they're capable of a lot. And what have you seen? Like, we'll start with you, Sallie. Can you give me some examples of cases where you've seen this really help an individual and a family?
Sure. As you described, families will enroll their child, let's say, it could be our ski program or summer camp, and not expecting very much. And then when they start to see the photos coming in or the video from their, counselor or their ski pro or ski buddy of their child, skiing down the mountain and doing turns and riding the chairlift and, climbing the face of a cliff in a harness. And they the whole family, the siblings too, they go, wow, and so it is I guess those raised expectations, or of seeing what your child is capable of, carry through to other things. And and also for the participant, these as you said, Katherine, there's a sense of achievement and confidence that comes from skiing down the hill or, rafting down the river. And there's a spark of life, because so much of autism is, we're all on the list. There's doom and gloom. And so when you have, these times of happiness and joy and achievement, it really makes a difference. So, there's examples of that, with families and their expectations. We have, when you come to summer camp, and let's say it's a new participant, this is challenging, transitions, new places, not in routines. And so, sometimes there are, some challenging behaviors surface the first day. And, our team is incredible. You just work through it. And, our camps are 5-day camps. Some people come for 2 weeks. By the second day, these kids, I don't care how severe you are, you kind of, the light bulb goes off and they get it. And then it's like they're loving it. So it's kind of, I think, with anything with autism, there's this inertia, around flexibility and change. But if you can break through it, then, our kids go to the next level.
Yeah. Katherine, I want to ask you about that, but also, I do want to admit something. I have 2 kids with severe autism. I've brought one skiing 20 times. The other one I've never brought skiing, right? Because I am still in that place of fear about him, and also doubt about my ability, right, to handle getting him there, getting his feet in boots or whatever it may be. Now, that I'm sure there are many cases, and I want to get back to that, where it doesn't work out, right? Where the kid is too hard and the parents can't make that, commitment, right, to bring him to a program. But Katherine, like, what have you seen? Like, can you I mean, I have friends. I mean, I got to tell you, like, and you know these friends, like they have twins with severe autism. One is blind and autistic, right? Very significantly autistic. And this kid can ski.
Mhm.
And you guys are out there. I see you guys out there with him. And it says blind, you have a vest on. It says blind skier. And I think everybody's just floored, right, that he can do this.
And he's a good skier too.
Yeah.
You know, I think what's interesting about our students on the spectrum is that it's very often a whole family that comes, as opposed to perhaps an amputee or a person in a wheelchair maybe show up with their spouse or their sibling, but there's a lot of families involved with this population. And I think the thing that I am most happy about is kind of like what Sallie was talking about, is the development of a new side of their personality, where a great example is this mom called and said, well, my daughter has severe autism and we want her to come and ski in a sit down ski so you can just give her a ride on the mountain. And our head gal, our administrative, said, no, that's, if she walks, she's going to stand and ski. So, and the mom's like, there's no way that she could do, she doesn't take direction, she's nonverbal, on and on and on. And so she was encouraged to come and rent skis and boots. And the family kind of backed out of the lobby, and the wonderful instructor and his assistant were able to get her boots on and walk her around in the snow. And by the end of the lesson, she was making laps, probably 8 or 10 laps on the bottom beginner chairlift. And the family was astounded.
Mm-hmm.
They were just flabbergasted, tears rolling down. Oh my God, I never thought I'd, so sometimes I wonder if it's that the participant has not been encouraged to do it, or if they are pulling our leg, I really can't do that. You know what I mean? Like sometimes Sophie's like, oh, I'm not going to make a turn. I'm just going to go straight. But she does know how to make a turn and very well. So she kind of strengthened her personality through the sport of skiing, I like to think.
Well, I can show a clip on my phone when we're done of our most recent exploits. I mean, yeah, she is pretty amazing. And although she sometimes scares the heck out of me, but look, I will say this: first time I brought Sophie to Achieve Tahoe, she was on the chairlift and she was so scared that she jumped off the chairlift 5 feet to the ground. She was fine, but it was a little scary. I thought, well, we'll never, ever, ever take her skiing. And then one time we got a kind of private instructor who just took her poles and just put them across Sophie's, waist. And Sophie had to sit in the chair. And then after that, she was fine. They have these phobias and they just have to be pushed a little bit to get over it. But what about the clients who come and they just can't, right? There's not 100% success on these things. What do you find? What do you do?
Are you talking to me?
Both of you. This is a general question to both of you.
Go ahead, Sallie. I mean, I could go on and on. I have thousands of stories, so you go first.
I know. I would say, okay, so first of all, we accept or enroll children and adults across the spectrum. And it's not uncommon to encounter challenging behaviors, but also can, like jumping off the lift. That's a that's a scary behavior. What behaviors that involve safety. And we do get participants who will say no. But that, it's like everything in autism, yes, you respect somebody, but until that person can experience what you're asking them to do, the no doesn't mean no to this sport or this activity. The no is like, I'm having some difficulties here, and the job of the instructor or coach, whatever, is to support that person through that transition. It's just like everything else in autism, and a good coach or instructor knows how to do that. And so sometimes you have to be patient. And like everything, when a participant comes, whether they've been there before or not, you're doing an assessment, an evaluation to start with, to see, where do I start? And sometimes you have to kind of back it up to do really small baby steps, right? Because you don't know exactly what's holding them back. So if you have a good instructor, who has been trained, you understand, where the no might be coming from. Every sport, you can do a task analysis, right? You can break it up into chunks, all the components, and you see that where to start with that person. And so the other piece to it is to, what we say at Ascendigo is like, get to the fun as soon as you can. Because once you get to the fun part, then that's where the light bulb goes off, and the person is much more motivated to go through getting the boots on, strapping the helmet and stuff, if they know they're going to get to fun. So we have all kinds of tools in the toolkit to work around. Okay, well, maybe this person's not a skier yet, but we can do things that get them on the hill in a very supported way, and so to get to the fun. And so we have found the success rate to be really, really, really high.
Wow. That's great to know.
It's just a fact.
Yeah. Just even the thought of putting my son's feet in ski boots, scares me. So I'm glad to know. That's encouraging. I will have to, think about doing that myself. So anyway, I'm gonna do this really fast before we go on, because I just found a little video, and Sophie has terrible form in this, everybody, but I'm going to show it for our video watchers here. So you kind of see her. This was just last month in Tahoe, and she's just sort of, I don't know if you could tell, but she's throwing her poles around, and she's just so happy. Look at her flapping. Anyway. And she's like, anyway, so that's Sophie. I'm sorry for those of you who are listening on podcast, but that was Sophie kind of skiing down a blue run. Blue means intermediate run at Tahoe just recently. But yeah, I mean, I just, she just blossomed. It's amazing. So let's talk a little bit about kind of costs, because that's a big deal for people. I know when I first started skiing, I found incredible discounts. We skied on the super cheap. We went, midweek. We got, Achieve Tahoe has a deal with suppliers for incredible steep discounts. Not only on these lift tickets, like it almost cost us nothing to ski at all. We did have to pay for rentals, but those rentals were extremely affordable. Now we're a little more flexible, and we actually bought our own equipment, so it's less cheap, but it was cheap for a while. If you guys can talk to us, because this is a very significant burden, I think, for some families who are going to, and whether it's skiing or anything else, but any kind of remote disability sports program. Why don't we start with Katherine?
Okay. And I just want to address what Sallie was talking about, because our participants come to learn a specific sport, right? Skiing or going in a kayak or paddle boarding or water skiing. But what we're always tell our people is lower your expectations, accomplish what you can. And if a student comes 8 times from a local school group and never puts ski boots on, maybe snowshoes around and plays in the snow and makes a terrain garden, at least they're getting out of the set structure they've always been in, and they're expanding their horizons. So it's not the act of teaching someone to turn left and right. It's the act of teaching them how to recreate. So whatever we end up doing with them. So just to tag on to what Sallie said, they don't all have to become proficient skiers. They can become someone who is not in school in a structured environment. They're in a public setting. They're behaving somewhat appropriately, and their family gets a little bit of a break while they're in the lesson. So that's a really important factor. I think we always strive for independence, but if it doesn't happen, that's okay too. Like you said, it's the fun factor. But
Excellent point.
Yeah. So we always try to make everything as affordable. Unfortunately, skiing is one of the more expensive sports. We have a scholarship fund. We get a huge discount on rentals. We don't have our own rental fleet. But we're always willing to work with the person or the family in order to make it as affordable as possible. All the local school groups, I think we have 4 or 5, they're all on scholarships. So it does happen. And if a family can afford to pay our normal regular prices, which are still about 1/12 of what you would pay if you went to the regular ski school or the regular paddle company, then thank you for paying that amount of money, because it really helps us out. All our fundraising is done to make our activities affordable.
Yeah, great. Sallie?
I concur with all of that. There are ways that you can ski, going on, not at the, don't go Christmas week or, or spring skiing week, but go in, the off times, you'll get, better rates on the condos or the hotel rooms as well. And there, I think, I know Aspen Skiing Company provides us with discounted equipment or lift tickets, ski pros, things like that. And so, and locals here with a disability get a heavily discounted ski pass. So my son has one of those, and that's really nice. But, skiing is just one sport. And while I think it's a great sport, there are many, many, many sports that don't cost very much at all. Hiking is an unbelievably great sport. And, I think a lot of people can get themselves to some good hiking trails. I know if you live in a big city, sometimes it's, harder to get out, but usually, within an hour of a city, you can get to some nice hiking trails, and gives you all the benefits of skiing. Maybe there's not, that going downhill with the speed and everything, but you can do quite a bit. Swimming is a great sport. almost every place nowadays has an indoor climbing wall. You can, learn on an indoor climb, and then, find places that have outdoor, climbing areas. So there are a number of these sports that, you don't have to pay a lot of money to do.
Yeah, skiing is definitely one of the more costly, but yeah, those first couple years we would do those midweek. We would stay at like this cheapo motel, too cheap actually. I have some stories, and it cost us just very, very little. But yeah, it's very it's daunting. And if somebody goes to camp, right, for a week, it has to fly there. Right. That's a chunk of change. But let's talk about, like, we have listeners from all over the country. What do you suggest they do to look for programs in their respective areas? Are you part of any larger networks?
Yes.
Tell us. Tell me more.
Well, our national organization, of which we have well over, I don't even know how many, I think it's 128 chapters now, is called Move United. And if you go on their website, there are chapters in every state. And it's a great resource. And you can usually go on the chapter's website, and they list all the activities and how to access the programs. And Move United has scholarship programs, and the local chapters usually have scholarship programs. We've done water ski clinics and water sports clinics in Mississippi and Tennessee and Louisiana. So it is everywhere. It's just a matter of finding it. And I believe Move United is a great resource for that.
Thank you. Sophie just walked in. Here, Sophie. Want to say hi? Hi. She's like, okay, people. All right. So we're out of time. Any closing remarks from either of you before we leave? Sallie?
I would just say the most important thing is to get started. And so the family, it's not the kids, or, young adults. It's the family prioritizing. And it's like all of us. We know, like, Americans are like sitting on the couch all the time, and we have all kinds of health problems as a result. So, the family's commitment to a healthy outdoor lifestyle is number one. And just get started. I mean, every community has some type of amenity where you can get outside and do something active. And so even going to the playground is a great thing. And so once you get started, it just, kind of snowballs. And the more you do. And when you don't do your activity, like if I don't get out and exercise a couple hours a day, I feel really bad. So, you just got to start small and then expand.
Good advice. Any closing words, Katherine? And then I'll give your respective websites as well.
Okay. I agree totally with Sallie. It's a small step in the right direction. And my older son had many challenges: orthopedic disabilities, PT, OT, speech therapy, many doctor's appointments. It was exhausting. Sometimes we're just exhausted from taking care of our beloved child. And the thought of making that effort to go to the playground or go on a hike may seem like it's just too much. But if they try it one time, I think you'll find a loving community of people that will really care about your family member and provide support to you too, which is what it's all about: love and support. So I say go for it.
Well, thank you guys. This has been super informative. I know we're going to have a lot of listeners who are really, really grateful for all of your insights and information. Ascendigo is ASCENDIGO.org.
So just think ascend, like
Ascend,
you're
I
going
go.
up, I go, ascend, I go.
Ascendigo.org. And Achieve Tahoe.
AchieveTahoe.org, and the national organization is Move United. So
Got it. And we'll put this in the show notes too,
yeah,
everyone.
that'd be great.
All right, people. Thank you so much, ladies. It was a delight to see both of you. You're real heroes. And hopefully this episode will go up soon while it's still winter. Okay, people. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jill.
Thanks for tuning in to Autism Confidential. If you'd like to learn more, share an idea for an episode, or become a sponsor, please visit us at autismconfidential.org. The views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the individual speakers. Content presented is for informational purposes only, and we do not provide any medical or legal advice.